The U.S. military budget is will almost reach the $1 trillion mark as more money has been granted to our government for weapons. So, we don't have things in this country that need to be fixed, do we? Like the infrastructure. So the U.S. Senate on Monday voted to give the military $716 billion for 2019, approving one of the biggest defense budgets in modern American history. $719 billion for the 2019 military budget. Wow. This comes at the same time that the economists, and lawmakers have reported that we are rapidly rising the federal deficit, and this will result in major crisis. So the 2019 military budget, approved by an 85-10 vote, gives American Armed Forces an $82 billion increase from 2017. The increase in military spending is one of the largest in modern U.S. history, jumping by 9.3% from 2017 to 2019. The military has called the additional funding necessary to improve its ability to respond to international crises. How about put that money towards humanitarian responses to international crises, like the cholera outbreak? Help them restore their sewer system that the United States destroyed by dropping bombs on them in Yemen and causing the biggest cholera outbreak of all time, where over 1 million people are going to said to potentially die. How about spending money on that? Humanitarian efforts, crises of humanitarian nature in other countries. How about the famine that's happening in other countries? How about those things? How about taking care of Flint, Michigan, taking care of the infrastructure over here, helping our educational system over here? We have so many people who can't afford meals in this country, families that live below the poverty level. How about helping them? How about health care? No. About 17% of America's $4 trillion federal budget goes to the military, according to the Congressional Budget Office. Congress's official budget scorekeeper recently projected the federal deficit will rise to more than $1 trillion by 2020. And what is that going to result in? Inflation. That is going to come back onto the citizens of the country, while Trump and his administration and all the other asshat warmongers, they're not going to be affected. That inflation is going to affect us, middle class, lower class, working class, hardworking civilians who don't want war. It will affect us. The military base budget, not including a contingency fund for overseas operations, will be the biggest in recent American history since at least the 1970s, according to multiple military budget experts. Mark Goldwine, senior vice president of the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, a nonpartisan think tank, said earlier this year, both parties came together and decided on a massive expansion of defense spending and to not pay for it. We'll be near $1 trillion in deficit next year, and the fact we're spending so much on defense means we have less resources for everything else and makes our debt more out of control than ever. I'd like to point out that he said earlier this year, both parties came together and decided on a massive expansion for defense spending. So yes, both parties. And that's why we have to vote for progressive Democrats who do not take money from donors, and in turn, they will not be war hawks. America has invested billions in new investments in nuclear weapons research, new nuclear warheads, updated aircraft carriers and ballistic submarines whose practical applications most say is hard to imagine in modern war. Why in God's green earth are we spending millions of dollars on submarines? Is that just because Trump played with them in his bathtub when he was a kid and he thinks it's cool to have submarines? What the shit? That's like coal. It's not even funny. This is real. This is taxpayers' dollars. This is people not having the essentials to live in this country alone. This is us not investing in solar and geothermal and wind and renewable energies. And this is us just continuing to push fossil fuels. And this is people continuing to get sick from coal runoff and from fracking. And this is the United States being one of the sickest countries on the planet, yet the richest. That's what this is, because we're putting our money, our federal budget, we're going to be $1 trillion in deficit, but it's not going to go to help people survive or be healthy in this country, or the people who get Meals on Wheels, elderly people who get Meals on Wheels, and I speak to them all the time. They say they would be happy and it would be an extraordinary day if they received a piece of fresh fruit in their Meals on Wheels. It's the people who get food stamps, and Trump was trying to save money, so he cut back by saying they can no longer get fresh produce or meat. Everything that they get has to be like in cans or in boxes. That's how he tried to save money, by cutting food stamps and Meals on Wheels. And this is about the 20,000 elderly people in Indiana who just got served papers saying that when July 1st comes, they're going to have to find a different place to live because they no longer will have insurance that covers them to live at their old age home, where they are also being treated medically to survive. But we had to cut corners. We had to make sure that we saved money so those people get screwed or die, and now we get submarines. This is not only wasteful, it's dangerous. It tells other countries that the nuclear arms race is back on, says William Harding, director of the Arms and Security Project at the Center for International Policy. All this money is being spent in service of the idea that we can go anywhere and fight any battle, and the recent history shows that that doesn't make a lot of sense, and it doesn't make us any safer. And let's not forget the study that came out last year about the Pentagon. And maybe most people don't even know about the study that came out last year about the Pentagon, because people at that time were too busy talking about Hillary and Russia. So the Pentagon is bloated with administration waste and contracts. In 2016, an internal report found that the military buried evidence of, I'm sorry, did I say 2014? 2016. A report came out that the military had buried evidence of $125 billion of bureaucratic waste, and that America already spends far more on the military than other countries. $124 billion was unaccounted for. $125 billion they could not account for where they had spent it, where it had gone in the Pentagon. $125 billion. But everybody's too busy talking about Stormy Daniels and Russia and Trump's crazy tweets. $125 billion. Do you know what that can do for the people of this country? Do you know how many people could have better lives? Their lives, their existence on this planet. America spends more on the military than the next 11 countries in line. Pouring billions into military limits America's ability to spend on healthcare and education. And I love that Bernie Sanders talks about this all the time. He said in a recent speech on the Senate floor that we are in dire need of this money for infrastructure, and noting the nation has among the world's worst health and child poverty rates in the developed world. Bernie has been saying this, the entire length of his career, and it's so sad to see that the rest of the people who run this country don't give a shit about child poverty and don't give a shit that we have the worst health care in the developed world. Here's Bernie, and there's crickets. These are evil, selfish, sick people that run this country, and they gotta go. Not just the Republicans, but all the shitty Democrats as well. I don't care what color they wear. Red, blue, don't matter. They gotta go. We need a major overhaul in this country. Not minor, not a tweak, not just for a Democrat to be president, not just for a Democrat to be governor. No. That didn't work in the past. It's not working now, and it's not going to work in the future. We need progressives who don't take money from corporations. The military budget elicited a little dissent in the Senate. These are the people who voted against this. Rand Paul, Mike Lee, Bernie Sanders voted against the measures, and those were the Republicans. The Democrats, or Bernie's not a Republican, but the Democrats that voted against it, Kristen Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, Jeff Merkley, Elizabeth Warren, Senator Cory Booker, and like I said, Bernie Sanders. Those were the people who voted against this, but they lost, and now Senate on Monday voted to give the military $716 billion for the 219 year, approving the biggest defense budget in modern American history, where we should be putting our money into fixing the planet. Get the lead out of the pipes that are falling apart across the country. Get the lead out of the homes that are chipping off across the country. Stop coal, stop fossil fuels. Let's make this world a healthy, happy place. But that's not what we do. We go to war. And then we go on the news, our politicians, and spout shit. Democrats this, Democrats that. Republicans this, Republicans that. And then you hate your neighbor. And you hate your sister-in-law. And then the whole country is divided and turned against each other. And that's what they want.